I never expected my carefully constructed silence to shatter in a room full of strangers. The Richmond Arts Forum smelled of old wood and newer money. 200 faces watching me discuss the loneliness inherent in ice sculpture. Each word I'd rehearsed, each slide perfectly timed. I was describing how isolation shapes beauty when a voice cut through from the back row. But doesn't that philosophy presume beauty requires suffering? The blonde woman stood without waiting for acknowledgement, her cruise line uniform crisp against winter light streaming through Victorian windows. Those blue eyes held mine with unsettling directness. I mean, couldn't beauty emerge from connection instead of withdrawal? My prepared response died on my tongue. She'd articulated the exact doubt I'd harbored for 30 years but never voiced. That's an interesting challenge to my thesis, I managed, fingers gripping the podium. Perhaps you're right. The moderator mercifully called for closing remarks before I could further embarrass myself. I gathered my notes with hands that created intricate sculptures from frozen water, yet trembled now from a simple question. She found me at the reception, champagne flute in hand. Quinn Bailey. Her handshake lasted a fraction too long. I captained the Aurora Line's winter routes. Evelyn Carter. I know. I've followed your work for years. She smiled, and something in my chest cracked like spring ice. Would you consider a commission? We're featuring artists on our northern exhibition cruise. I should have declined. I'd stopped accepting commissions after my divorce, preferring the solitude of my studio to the complications of clients. What did you have in mind? We moved to a quieter corner, then to the coffee shop next door when the reception ended. Coffee became dinner at a small Italian place where she described commanding a ship through Arctic waters while I explained how different temperatures create varying ice textures. It's about control, she said, leaning forward. Respecting the power of what you're working with while bending it to your vision. Exactly. Her fingers traced her wine glass rim, and I found myself watching the movement. She caught me looking. I should confess something. Quinn's voice dropped lower. I didn't randomly attend your lecture. I've wanted to meet you since I saw your work at the Smithsonian 3 years ago. 3 years? The sculpture of the woman emerging from ice. It looked like freedom and terror combined. She paused. It looked like something I understood. The waiter interrupted to clear plates, breaking whatever spell had descended. When he left, Quinn shifted the conversation to logistics, discussing dimensions and installation timelines for the ship commission. Professional, safe. Her hand brushed mine, reaching for the check. We both froze. Sorry, she said, not moving away. It's fine, I whispered, not pulling back. The moment stretched, suspended like water between liquid and solid states. Then Quinn withdrew, leaving my skin cold where warmth had briefly flared. I should go. Early departure tomorrow. She stood, smoothing her uniform. Think about the commission? I nodded, not trusting my voice. She walked 3 steps toward the door before turning back. For what it's worth, I think you're wrong about isolation creating beauty. I think it just protects us from the risk of it shattering. Then she was gone, leaving me alone with an empty wine glass and the terrifying realization that in 2 hours, this 30-year-old stranger had seen through defenses I'd spent decades constructing. I drove home through streets slick with December rain, my gray eyes meeting their reflection in the rearview mirror. The silver streaks in my black hair seemed more pronounced tonight, 60 years suddenly feeling ancient. My phone buzzed as I unlocked my studio door. Forgot to mention, I'm docked at the shipyard for 2 more weeks. If you want to see the exhibition space before deciding. Quinn. I stared at the message, thumb hovering over the keyboard. Every instinct screamed to decline professionally, maintain distance, return to the safe numbness I'd cultivated. Instead, I typed, tomorrow afternoon works. Her response came immediately, perfect. I set the phone down and walked to my current sculpture, an abstract piece of a cage made from ice. In the dim light, it looked exactly like what it was. A prison I'd built myself, beautiful and cold and slowly melting whether I wanted it to or not. 3 days passed before Quinn appeared at my studio unannounced. I heard the knock while carving details into a commission piece, ice dust coating my work apron, and probably my hair. Through the frosted glass door, her silhouette was unmistakable. Hope I'm not interrupting, She held up a bottle of champagne. Thought we could toast to your acceptance. I haven't accepted yet. You will. That smile again, confident and disarming. Can I watch you work? I should have said no. Instead, I stepped aside, letting her into my private sanctuary where no one had been invited in years. Quinn moved through the space like she belonged there, examining half-finished sculptures with genuine interest. She'd traded her uniform for jeans and a navy sweater that made her blue eyes impossibly brighter. How do you decide what to create? She asked, standing too close as I returned to my carving. Sometimes the ice tells me. Sometimes I'm working something out. What are you working out now? The sculpture under my hands was taking the shape of two figures, their forms intertwined, but not quite touching. I hadn't planned it that way. I'm not sure yet. Her breath was warm against my neck as she leaned in to study my technique. Every nerve in my body screamed awareness of her proximity. Come see the ship, she said quietly. Let me show you where your work would live. The champagne remained unopened as we drove to the shipyard in her car, conversation flowing easier now. She told me about growing up on the water, how her father had been a merchant marine, how she'd fought to captain her own vessel by 30. People doubted me because of my age. I imagine they doubted other things too, I said carefully. Quinn glanced over, understanding my implication. Yeah, that too. The Aurora was smaller than I'd imagined. Elegant rather than massive. Quinn led me up the gangway with proprietary pride, through narrow corridors I had to duck through, finally emerging onto the upper deck where sunset painted everything gold. The exhibition space is here. She gestured to an area protected from elements but open to sky. Your sculptures would catch natural light during day crossings, moonlight at night. I could envision it perfectly. The way ice would glow against dark water, temporary beauty and constant motion. It's perfect, I admitted. I knew you'd see it. Quinn moved to the railing, ocean wind lifting her blonde hair. Want to see the captain's quarters? I have those blueprints there. The porthole windows in her cabin caught the dying light, scattering amber across simple furnishings. Professional, contained, much like my own living space. She poured 2 glasses of whiskey from a crystal decanter. To new collaborations, Quinn offered. Our glasses touched with a soft chime. The whiskey burned pleasantly down my throat. Can I ask you something? She set her glass down, turning to face me fully. Why do you seem so afraid? I'm not afraid. You are. I see it every time I get close. Quinn took a step forward. I haven't stopped thinking about you since the lecture, Evelyn. And I think you've been thinking about me too. My heart hammered against my ribs. You're 30 years old. So? I'm old enough to be your mother. You're not my mother. Another step closer. You're a brilliant artist who's been hiding behind ice sculptures and age excuses because it's safer than admitting you feel something. Quinn, this is insane. Probably. She reached up, fingers hovering near my face without touching. Tell me you don't feel this and I'll back off. Tell me honestly. I couldn't. The lie wouldn't form. She closed the distance between us, her lips meeting mine with gentle certainty. I'd forgotten how soft a woman's mouth could be, how different from the rough kisses of my ex-husband. Quinn tasted like whiskey and possibility and everything I'd denied myself for decades. I pulled away, breathless and terrified. I can't do this. Why not? Because you're young and beautiful and you have your whole life ahead of you. Because people will talk and judge and it will damage your career. Because I'm broken in ways you can't understand. Quinn's hand found mine in the dim cabin. What if I don't care about any of that? You should. But I don't. Her thumb traced circles on my palm. I know what I want, Evelyn. The question is whether you're brave enough to admit what you want. I left without answering, practically fleeing down the gangway to my car. My hands shook on the steering wheel as I drove home through streets blurred by tears I hadn't felt in years. That night, Quinn's text arrived at midnight. I can't pretend anymore. Neither could I. I found myself driving to the shipyard at 1 a.m, still wearing my nightgown under a heavy coat. Quinn's text message glowing on my passenger seat like an accusation. She was waiting at the gangway, wrapped in a pea coat, her blonde hair loose around her shoulders. "I didn't think you'd come," she said. Neither did I. We climbed aboard in silence, the ship creaking gently against its moorings. In her quarters, Quinn made tea neither of us would drink, both of us circling the real conversation. "I need you to understand something," I finally said. "I'm not good at this. At any of this." "At what?" "Letting people in, wanting things, being wanted." The words felt like pulling shards of ice from my throat. My marriage ended 15 years ago because I was emotionally unavailable. Before that, I disappointed my parents by choosing art over medicine. I've spent my entire adult life perfecting the art of being alone. Quinn sat beside me on the narrow bunk, close but not touching. Why? Because alone is predictable. It doesn't leave. That's not living, Evelyn. That's just surviving. I turned to face her, really face her, taking in the way lamplight caught the blue of her eyes, the determined set of her jaw that probably helped her command a crew twice her age. "Tell me about your first relationship," she said softly. "With a woman." The question struck deep. No one had asked me that in 30 years. Her name was Catherine. We were in art school together in Boston. 22 years old and stupid with it. The memory tasted bitter and sweet simultaneously. We had 6 months before my father found out. He threatened to cut me off, disown me, said what we were doing was unnatural and shameful. "What did you do?" "I married Michael within a year, had a respectable career, a respectable life, and felt absolutely nothing for 2 decades. I laughed without humor. Catherine sent me a wedding invitation when she married her partner 5 years ago. She found happiness. I found safety." Quinn's hand found mine in the darkness, fingers interlacing. "I'm scared of you," I admitted. "Of what wanting you means." "I'm scared too," she whispered. "I've never felt this way about anyone, man or woman. And definitely never someone who keeps trying to talk herself out of what we both know is happening here. Have you been with many women?" 3 serious relationships. The last one ended badly. Quinn's thumb traced patterns on my wrist. Rebecca wanted me to choose between her and my career. She couldn't understand that commanding a ship isn't just what I do, it's who I am. She sounds foolish. She was afraid. Like you are now. Quinn shifted closer, her knee touching mine. "But I'm not asking you to give up anything, Evelyn. I'm just asking you to stop running." "I don't know how." "Then let me show you." She leaned in slowly, giving me every opportunity to pull away. I didn't. This kiss was different from the first, deeper and more deliberate, her hand cradling my face with such tenderness I thought I might break from it. We talked until dawn broke over the water, sharing stories of failures and small victories, of dreams abandoned and others still flickering. Quinn described navigating through Arctic storms, the terrible beauty of isolation at sea. I told her about the sculpture that launched my career, how I'd carved my younger self emerging from ice, trying to freeze the moment before I made the wrong choice. "You can't go back," Quinn said, her head resting on my shoulder, "but you can choose differently now. It won't be easy. People will have opinions. Let them." As gray morning light filled the cabin, I asked the question that had been circling my mind for hours. "Have you ever been with someone my age?" "No," she admitted. "Have you ever been with someone young enough to be your daughter?" "God, no." We both laughed, the absurdity of our situation suddenly clear and somehow less terrifying in daylight. Quinn pulled back to look at me, her expression serious. "I don't care about the age difference, Evelyn. I care about the woman who creates beauty from frozen water and hides her heart behind walls of ice. I care about the way you listen when I talk about the sea, like you actually understand why I can't imagine life on solid ground." "I do understand." "Then stop fighting this." She kissed me again, soft and questioning. "Please." I stayed until the shipyard began stirring with morning workers, finally forcing myself to leave before my car attracted attention. Quinn walked me to the gangway, her fingers trailing reluctantly from mine. "Dinner tonight?" she asked. "My place, not the ship. I'll cook. You don't have to convince me anymore." "I know." That smile again, the one that made my carefully constructed defenses feel paper thin. "But I want to anyway." I drove home as sunrise painted Richmond gold and pink, feeling like I was 17 instead of 60, terrified and exhilarated in equal measure. In my rearview mirror, Quinn stood on the deck watching me go, and for the first time in decades, I let myself imagine a future that wasn't carved from ice and solitude. My phone buzzed with her message, "Thank you for being brave enough to come." I typed back with shaking hands, "Thank you for being patient enough to wait." For 2 weeks, Quinn and I maintained careful distance. She sent photos from her northern route, icebergs calving in Arctic waters, the aurora dancing above frozen seas. I replied with images of my work in progress, the commission piece evolving into something neither of us had anticipated. Professional messages, safe words. Both of us pretending that night on the ship hadn't changed everything. Then her text arrived at midnight. "I can't pretend anymore." Neither could I. Marcus Alexander appeared at my studio the next morning, Quinn's business partner and closest friend, his expression grave. "People are talking," he said without preamble. "About Quinn's frequent visits here, about the way she looks at you." My hands stilled on the sculpture I'd been working on. What people? Richmond is a small world for those who matter, the cruise line board, investors. He leaned against my work table. "Quinn has worked damn hard to be taken seriously as the youngest captain in the company. A scandal could destroy that. We're not having a scandal. Aren't you?" His gaze was uncomfortably direct. "You're twice her age, Evelyn. Whatever this is between you two, it will cost her everything she's built." After he left, I stared at my reflection in the studio's frosted windows. 60 years stared back, every line earned through disappointment and compromise. What was I doing, allowing a brilliant young woman to throw away her future for someone whose best years were long past? I called Quinn that evening. "We need distance," I said before she could speak. "This is foolish, and it's going to hurt your career." Silence stretched across the line. "Is that really why you're running?" Her voice was tight. "Or is it easier to hide behind concern for my reputation than admit you're terrified?" "Quinn, please." "No, you don't get to make this decision alone." I heard her breath catch. "At least be honest about your feelings. Tell me you don't want this and I'll walk away. But don't you dare use my career as an excuse for your cowardice." The truth clawed its way up my throat. "I'm terrified of wanting you this much, of needing you, of watching you realize I'm not worth the sacrifice." "Then let me decide what you're worth." She appeared at my studio door 20 minutes later, still in her captain's uniform, hair windswept from the drive. We stood on opposite sides of my workspace, the unfinished sculpture between us like a referee. "I have never wanted anything the way I want you," Quinn said. "Not command of my ship, not my career. Nothing comes close to this feeling. You don't understand what you're saying." "Stop telling me what I understand." She moved around the work table. "I'm 30 years old, Evelyn. I've commanded crews through hurricanes. I've made life or death decisions in Arctic waters. I know my own damn mind. People will judge you. Call it unnatural, inappropriate. They'll question your judgment. Let them." Quinn stopped inches away. "I've been judged my entire life for being young, for being a woman in a male profession, for loving who I love. I'm done letting fear make my decisions. I can't be responsible for destroying your future. You're not destroying anything. You're giving me a reason to build something better." She kissed me then, urgent and desperate, pressing me against the cold steel of my work table. I tried to protest, to maintain reason, but her mouth silenced every objection. My hands found her waist, pulling her closer even as my mind screamed this was wrong. We moved through my studio in a tangle of need and fear, knocking over tools, her uniform jacket falling to ice-dusted floors. In the back room where I kept my private pieces, she pushed me against the wall with surprising strength. "Tell me to stop," she whispered against my neck. I couldn't. Our lovemaking was frantic and fumbling, two women fighting against time and doubt and the weight of the world's opinions. Her skin was warm beneath my weathered hands, every touch an apology and a promise. We made love on a workbench, on blankets meant for covering sculptures, anywhere that would hold us, the winter cold forgotten in the heat between us. Afterward, we lay tangled together on the floor, ice shavings glittering in her blonde hair like stars. "I love you," Quinn said into the darkness. I know it's too soon and too complicated, but I love you anyway. Tears I'd held for decades finally broke free. I love you too, and that terrifies me more than anything. She held me while I cried, this strong young woman who commanded ships through storms, stroking my silver-streaked hair with infinite patience. We'll figure it out, she promised. Together. What if we can't? Then we'll fail spectacularly trying. Quinn kissed my temple. But I'd rather have 6 months of this than a lifetime of safety. We stayed until dawn threatened, finally separating with reluctance. Quinn pulled on her uniform, finger-combing her hair into something resembling professionalism. Thanksgiving, she said at the door. Come meet my family, as my friend, officially. But we'll both know the truth. Quinn, I don't think that's wise. Probably not. But I need you there. Her blue eyes held mine with intensity that made my heart stutter. Please, I want the people I love to meet each other. Against every instinct of self-preservation, I agreed. She left with one final kiss, leaving me alone with sculptures that suddenly seemed less interesting than the woman who'd just walked out my door, carrying my heart with her into the winter morning. The Bailey estate sprawled across Virginia countryside like something from a different century, all stone and tradition, and old money that made my studio apartment feel impossibly small. Quinn squeezed my hand as we walked up the drive. Remember, you're my close friend and artistic collaborator. Lying to your family. Excellent start. Not lying. Omitting. She grinned, but I saw the tension in her jaw. My grandmother Eleanor is the only one who matters. She built the family shipping business from nothing after my grandfather died. Inside, crystal chandeliers caught afternoon light, reflecting off polished floors where generations of Baileys had walked. Quinn introduced me to cousins and aunts with practiced ease, my age making the friend label somehow more believable. Then Eleanor appeared, 85 years of steel wrapped in cashmere, her eyes sharp as she assessed me. The ice sculptor. Quinn hasn't stopped talking about your work. I hope favorably. She says you understand the sea without living on it. Eleanor's gaze moved between us with unsettling perception. Interesting quality in a landlocked artist. Before I could respond, the front door burst open, and a woman I didn't recognize swept in, red hair and designer clothes and an expression that made my stomach drop. Rebecca, Quinn breathed beside me. The ex-girlfriend. Of course. Darling Quinn. Rebecca air-kissed both her cheeks. So glad I could make it. I know how much family means to you. You weren't invited, Quinn said flatly. Technically, I'm still family until the trust paperwork finalizes. Rebecca's smile was poisonous as she turned to me. And you must be the new friend everyone's whispering about. Evelyn Carter, 60 years old, recently divorced, ice sculptor. Did I miss anything? My dislike of you is fairly immediate. Eleanor laughed, sharp and delighted. I like her, Quinn. Dinner was orchestrated tension, Rebecca dropping comments about appropriate relationships and professional boundaries, while Quinn's knuckles whitened around her fork. I kept my expression neutral, years of family disappointment training me well. Then Rebecca struck. I've been thinking about the trust terms, she announced over dessert. Specifically the clause about sound mental judgment being required for inheritance. Quinn went very still beside me. What are you implying? Eleanor's voice could have frozen oceans. That Quinn's recent behavior suggests compromised judgment, her inappropriate attachment to someone old enough to be her mother, her neglect of company duties. Rebecca produced a folder. I have photographs, witness statements, enough to request psychiatric evaluation before she accesses her inheritance. The table erupted. Cousins arguing, aunts gasping, Eleanor's cane striking the floor for silence. You conniving witch, Quinn started, but I put my hand on her arm. Let me understand, I said calmly. You're using Quinn's personal life to steal her inheritance because she left you? I'm protecting family assets from someone making irrational decisions. The only irrational decision Quinn made was wasting time on you. Rebecca's smile turned vicious. Careful, Miss Carter. I've done research on you too. That woman you abandoned in Boston? Catherine Green? She'd be interested to know your repeating patterns, Seducing younger women, then disappearing when things get complicated. My blood turned cold. That's enough, Eleanor commanded, but Rebecca wasn't finished. Quinn deserves to know who she's risking everything for. A coward who ran from love once, and will do it again. I stood, chair scraping against hardwood. Quinn, I should go. Don't. Her hand caught mine under the table. Please don't run. But I was already moving toward the door, Rebecca's words chasing me like ghosts I'd thought buried. In the hallway, Eleanor's voice stopped me. Ms. Carter. A word. I turned to face her, expecting condemnation. Instead, she gestured to a small sitting room. 60 years ago, I married my companion Margaret in a private ceremony no one acknowledged. Eleanor's eyes held mine. We ran the shipping business together for 4 decades before cancer took her. Everyone assumed she was my secretary. I don't understand. I understand what it costs to hide love. What it costs to choose it despite the world's opinions. She moved closer. Rebecca is vengeful and dangerous, but her claims are baseless. I'll handle her if you answer one question honestly. What question? Do you love my granddaughter, or are you using her to feel young again? The truth came easier than expected. I love her. And that terrifies me because I don't deserve her. None of us deserve the love we're given, Eleanor smiled. We just have to be brave enough to accept it. Now, are you going to run like Rebecca predicted, or stay and fight? Through the doorway, I could see Quinn arguing with her ex, defending me, defending us, risking everything for something we'd barely begun. I thought of Catherine, of the life I'd abandoned, of 30 years lived in safe isolation. I'm tired of running, I said. Eleanor's smile widened. Good. Because I have a proposal. Eleanor led me back to the dining room, where Quinn stood toe-to-toe with Rebecca, the rest of the family watching like spectators at a particularly ugly sport. Enough. Eleanor's voice cut through the chaos. Rebecca, you will withdraw your claims immediately, or I will ensure every company in Richmond knows about your creative accounting during your tenure as Quinn's partner. Rebecca's face paled. You have no proof. Don't I? Eleanor's smile was shark-like. You underestimate what an old woman with resources can discover. Now leave my home. After Rebecca stormed out, promising legal action, the remaining family dispersed with uncomfortable murmurs. Quinn found me in the garden where I'd escaped for air. You came back, she said softly. Your grandmother is terrifying. She likes you. That's rare. Quinn sat beside me on the cold stone bench. I'm sorry about Rebecca. About all of this. Don't apologize for her cruelty. She was right though, wasn't she? About Catherine. About you running. The truth sat heavy between us. I was 23 and scared. My father threatened to disown me, and I believed the world when it said what I felt was wrong. So yes, I ran. I married a man I didn't love, and spent 20 years pretending to be someone else. Quinn took my hand. Are you going to run now? I want to. Every instinct tells me to protect you by leaving. But I'm tired of protecting people from myself. I turned to face her. I abandoned Catherine because I was a coward. If I leave you now, it's still cowardice, just dressed up as sacrifice. So stay. It won't be easy. Rebecca will make good on her threats. People will talk. Your career might suffer. Let it. Quinn kissed my knuckles. I'd rather captain a rowboat with you than command a fleet alone. We sat in comfortable silence until my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Miss Carter, this is Rebecca Bailey. We should talk privately. I showed Quinn the message. Her jaw tightened. Don't respond. But Rebecca called immediately, and stupidly I answered. Walk to the East Garden, alone. I found her smoking by a fountain, designer heels sinking into frost-hard ground. Here's what's going to happen, Rebecca said. You're going to leave Quinn alone. Or I'll make sure your past becomes very public. Catherine Green isn't the only woman you hurt, is she? My blood went cold. What are you talking about? Jennifer Morrison, Sarah Chen, both from your art school days, both left heartbroken when you chose conventional life over them. Rebecca's smile was cruel. I'm very good at research. One call to the arts community, and your reputation as a serious artist becomes a scandal about a serial seducer of younger women. Those relationships were complicated. I'm sure. But optics matter. 60-year-old woman with a pattern of pursuing then abandoning younger lovers? The narrative writes itself. She dropped her cigarette, crushing it under a heel. Walk away from Quinn now, or I destroy you both. And if I don't? Then you'll watch her lose everything because she chose you. Her inheritance, her reputation, her career. All gone because she couldn't resist a pretty older woman with emotional issues. I wanted to hit her. Instead, I kept my voice level. You're doing this because she left you. I'm doing this because she's making a mistake, and someone needs to save her from herself. Rebecca moved closer. You know I'm right. You're not good for her. Eventually, you'll hurt her like you hurt all the others. I'm just accelerating the inevitable. She left me standing in the cold, her words burrowing under my skin like parasites. I found Quinn inside, told her everything. Watched her face cycle through anger, hurt, determination. She's bluffing. Is she? I did hurt those women, Quinn. Maybe not intentionally, but the result was the same. That was 30 years ago. You were different then. Was I? The doubt Rebecca had planted flowered dark. What if I'm still that person? What if I hurt you too? Quinn grabbed my shoulders. Stop letting her win. She's manipulating you. Or she's telling the truth I've been avoiding. We argued in whispered hisses, neither willing to concede. Finally, Quinn pulled me into a guest room, locking the door behind us. I don't care about your past, she said. I care about who you are now, who you choose to be. Quinn, I'm serious. If Rebecca exposes everything, your career ends. Then it ends. I'll find another path. She cupped my face. But I will not let her terrorize you into leaving me. This is insane. Probably. She kissed me, desperate and demanding. But I'd rather have insane with you than sane without you. We made love in that guest room with her family downstairs, muffling sounds against each other's skin, urgent and reckless. Every touch felt like defiance, every kiss a promise that we wouldn't let Rebecca's threats destroy what we'd built. Afterward, tangled in expensive sheets, Quinn traced patterns on my shoulder. My sister Vivian is arriving tomorrow. I called her after Rebecca's scene. Another family member. Wonderful. She's a surgeon in Boston. We're not close, but she's brilliant and ruthless when necessary. Quinn smiled. If anyone can help us fight Rebecca, it's her. I thought about Eleanor's offer to help, about Vivian's impending arrival, about the battle lines being drawn around our relationship. This is really happening, isn't it? We're actually fighting for this. Unless you want to surrender. I looked at this woman who'd somehow cracked through decades of my carefully maintained isolation, who loved me despite every reason not to, who was willing to risk everything for a future neither of us could guarantee. No surrender, I said, not anymore. Quinn kissed me again, softer this time, full of promise and hope, and the terrifying possibility that maybe, finally, I'd found something worth being brave for. The morning after Thanksgiving, I woke in Quinn's childhood bedroom to find her gone. Panic seized me until I heard voices downstairs, Eleanor's measured tones mixing with someone younger, sharper. I dressed quickly, following the conversation to the study where Quinn stood with a woman who could only be her sister. Vivian Carter was all surgical precision, from her sleek brunette hair to her gray eyes that assessed me with clinical detachment. So you're the ice sculptor causing family drama. Vivian, Quinn warned. It's fine. I met her gaze. Yes, I'm the complication. Good. I prefer honest complications to polite lies. Vivian gestured to chairs. Eleanor filled me in on Rebecca's threats. Tell me about these women from your past. The interrogation took an hour. I laid bare every relationship, every cowardly choice, every person I'd hurt by choosing safety over truth. Quinn held my hand throughout, silent support against my sister's ruthless questioning. Finally, Vivian sat back. You were a mess 30 years ago. Are you still? Probably. But I'm trying not to be good enough. She pulled out her phone. Rebecca made a mistake targeting you. She forgot that people keep receipts. What do you mean? Jennifer Morrison is now a successful gallery owner in New York. Sarah Chen runs an arts foundation in San Francisco. I contacted both last night. Vivian's smile was sharp. Neither remembers you fondly, but both were clear that your relationships were consensual between adults figuring out their identities. Not the predatory pattern Rebecca's implying. Relief flooded through me. They'd say that publicly? If necessary. But it won't be. Vivian turned her phone to show financial records. Because I have something better. Rebecca embezzled $40,000 from the Bailey Shipping Company during her relationship with Quinn, covered it up through creative accounting that would interest the SEC. Quinn leaned forward. How did you find that? I have friends in forensic accounting. Took them 12 hours. Vivian's expression hardened. Rebecca can threaten to expose Evelyn's past, but we can threaten her with federal prison, mutually assured destruction. Eleanor entered with coffee, somehow unsurprised by this development. Vivian always was efficient. Someone had to be, since Quinn chooses heart over strategy. Vivian softened slightly, though I admit, the heart choice seems decent this time. High praise from you, Quinn said. We spent the morning strategizing. Vivian would approach Rebecca with the evidence, offering a deal, withdraw all claims and disappear, or face prosecution. Eleanor would ensure industry blacklisting if Rebecca tried anything further. Why are you helping us? I asked Vivian as we prepared to leave. She studied me with those surgeon's eyes. Because Quinn has never looked at anyone the way she looks at you. And because watching our parents destroy each other over secrets taught me that honesty, however messy, beats comfortable lies. Our parents? We had the same father, different mothers. Vivian's smile was bitter. He abandoned my mother when she got pregnant, married Quinn's mother instead. We didn't know about each other until we were teenagers. Quinn touched her sister's shoulder. We've made peace with it. Mostly. Vivian turned to me. The point is, family is complicated, and love doesn't follow convenient rules. If my sister has chosen you despite every logical reason not to, then you must be worth fighting for. The words settled something in my chest I hadn't known was unsettled. Rebecca agreed to meet that afternoon at a neutral restaurant. She arrived confident, expecting another round of threats. Vivian slid the financial records across the table. $40,000 over 18 months. That's federal embezzlement. Rebecca's face drained of color. You can't prove that. I'm a surgeon, but my ex-wife is a federal prosecutor. Want to test which of us is bluffing? Vivian leaned back. Here's the deal. You withdraw all claims against Quinn, sign a non-disclosure agreement, and disappear from Richmond. In exchange, we don't press charges. This is blackmail. No, this is consequences. Quinn's voice was cold. You tried to destroy my relationship out of spite. Now you get to choose jail or obscurity. Rebecca looked between us, calculation clear in her expression. Finally, she grabbed her purse. Fine. I'll have my lawyer draw up the withdrawal. Already done. Vivian produced documents. Sign now, or the evidence goes to authorities within the hour. The pen trembled in Rebecca's hand as she signed. Before leaving, she looked at me. You'll hurt her eventually. That's what people like you do. Maybe, I said. But that's between Quinn and me. Not you. After she left, Quinn sagged against me. Is it really over? The legal part, Vivian confirmed. The gossip will take longer to die, but without Rebecca fueling it, people will move on. We returned to the Bailey estate to find Eleanor had prepared dinner. A strange celebration of crisis averted. Over wine, Vivian told stories of their complicated childhood, of learning to be sisters despite their father's betrayal. He taught us what not to do, Quinn said, how not to love people. And yet here you are, risking everything for love. Vivian raised her glass to me. Try not to prove Rebecca right, Evelyn. My sister deserves better than another person who runs when things get hard. I won't run, I promised. Later, Quinn and I walked the estate grounds under stars sharp as ice chips. Thank you for staying, she said. For fighting instead of fleeing. Thank your grandmother and sister. They did the actual fighting. No, you did. By being honest about your past, by not letting shame make decisions. Quinn stopped, turning to face me. I know you're still scared. I see it when you look at me sometimes, like you're waiting for me to realize you're not worth it. Old habits. Break them. She kissed me, soft and certain. I love you, Evelyn, not despite your mess, but including it. All of it. I held her in the cold Virginia night, this woman who'd refused to let me hide, who'd fought for us when I wanted to surrender. I love you too, I whispered against her hair. And I'm sorry it took me 60 years to be brave enough to mean it. Better late than never. We went inside to find Vivian preparing to leave for Boston. She hugged Quinn, then surprised me by embracing me too. Take care of her, she said quietly, and let her take care of you. That's how this works. After she left, Eleanor cornered me one last time. Margaret and I had 40 years together. Some people get a lifetime, others get less. Don't waste whatever time you have counting reasons it won't work. Yes, ma'am. She smiled. Quinn chose well. Now go home and create something beautiful together. The gossip hit Richmond society within a week. Quinn and I made no effort to hide anymore, attending gallery openings together, having dinner at restaurants where we'd be seen. The whispers followed us like cold drafts, but neither of us flinched. Marcus called Quinn 3 times in 2 days, warning that board members were expressing concerns. She ignored them all. They can fire me if they want, she said over breakfast in my studio. I've been saving for years. We could start our own operation. Don't burn your career for me. I'm not burning anything. I'm choosing differently. She kissed my temple. Besides, I have a proposal. The commission had evolved into something neither of us expected. What started as decorative pieces for the ship became a full exhibition, my sculptures telling stories of transformation and courage. Come with me, Quinn said. The winter route, 3 months through Arctic waters. Install your work at each port, create new pieces inspired by the journey. Leave Richmond for 3 months? Leave your studio, your safety, your comfortable isolation. Her blue eyes held mine. Choose adventure instead of fear. I looked around my workspace, at decades of careful solitude preserved in ice and steel, at the life I'd built to protect myself from exactly this kind of vulnerability. Yes, I heard myself say. Yes, I'll come. Quinn's smile could have melted glaciers. We spent the next 2 weeks preparing. I closed my studio temporarily, arranged for my few commitments to be postponed. The art community buzzed with speculation about my sudden departure, most of it centering on the young captain I'd been seen with. Let them talk. The Aurora departed Richmond on a December morning sharp with frost, Quinn at the helm, me standing beside her as the city fell away behind us. She'd given me the second officer's cabin, maintaining propriety for her crew, but everyone knew where I spent my nights. Our first port was Halifax, where I installed 3 sculptures in the harbor district. Local press covered the exhibition, asking about my sudden shift from solitary artist to traveling creator. I'm done hiding in my studio, I told them. Sometimes transformation requires leaving solid ground. Quinn watched from the crowd, pride evident in her expression. That night in her quarters, she held me as the ship rocked gently at dock. You were magnificent today. I was terrified. But you did it anyway. She kissed my shoulder. That's what bravery actually looks like. We made love slowly, learning each other's bodies with the patience we hadn't allowed ourselves before. Her hands were reverent on my aging skin, finding beauty in places I'd learned to hide. I traced the strong lines of her back, the muscles earned from commanding ships through storms, marveling that this woman had chosen me. Afterward, she whispered plans for the journey ahead. Greenland ports where I could sculpt with natural ice, Norwegian fjords where light played tricks with frozen water. The possibility of seeing the aurora together, ice and light dancing in ways I'd only imagined. This is really happening, I said. We're really doing this. Having second thoughts? Constant thoughts. But not second ones. I turned to face her. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing what I want instead of what's safe. How does it feel? Terrifying. Exhilarating. Right. The weeks blurred into rhythm. Quinn commanded her ship with quiet authority while I created ice sculptures at each port, our work intertwining like our lives. Crew members who'd been skeptical warmed to me, especially after I taught several of them basic sculpting techniques during long ocean crossings. In Greenland, I carved directly from a glacier, creating pieces that would melt with spring. Quinn documented the process, her photographs capturing both art and artist. "You look happy," she said through her camera. "Really happy." I realized she was right. The lines around my eyes were from smiling now, not from years of disappointment. But happiness made me nervous. It felt fragile, temporary, something that could shatter like thin ice. In Reykjavik, Eleanor's lawyer called. She'd passed away peacefully in her sleep, her will leaving Quinn a substantial inheritance with one condition: that she never let fear determine her course again. Quinn cried in my arms, grief mixing with gratitude for her grandmother's final blessing. She knew, Quinn whispered. About us, about everything, and she approved. She understood what it cost to choose love. We held a small memorial at sea, just the two of us and trusted crew members. Quinn scattered Eleanor's ashes over Arctic waters while I said words about courage and choosing joy despite the world's objections. That night, Quinn was quiet in our cabin, processing loss. "Tell me we're doing the right thing," she said finally. "I don't know if it's right, but it's ours." "That's enough?" "It has to be." I held her closer. "Because going back to who I was before you feels like dying slowly." She kissed me then, urgent and needy, and we made love with the desperation of people who understand how quickly joy can be stolen. Our bodies moved together in the darkness, the ship rocking beneath us, two women claiming happiness in the face of every reason not to. Afterward, wrapped in blankets against Arctic cold, Quinn showed me Eleanor's final letter. It contained advice about loving women in a world designed for different loves, about building family from chosen people rather than blood. She wanted us to know we weren't alone, Quinn said. That others have walked this path. We're standing on their shoulders. Yeah. She tucked the letter away carefully, making the climb a little easier for whoever comes next. The northern lights appeared that night, dancing across black sky in waves of green and violet. We stood on deck watching, ice crystals forming in our breath. 3 months ago, I was alone in my studio, I said. Now I'm in the Arctic with the woman I love, watching the aurora and feeling more alive than I have in decades. Any regrets? Thousands. But none about this? Quinn pulled me closer, and we stood until cold drove us inside, to warmth and each other and the future we were building one brave choice at a time. 3 months at sea changed everything and nothing. We returned to Richmond in early March, ice melting from harbor edges like promises kept. My exhibition had gained international attention, galleries from New York to Oslo requesting shows. Quinn's shipping company board, seeing the publicity value, dropped their objections and offered her an expanded route. Success felt strange after years of deliberate obscurity. We could stay on the ship, Quinn suggested as we unloaded my equipment. Make it permanent, live between ports. Or, we could try something harder. Building a life on solid ground, together, publicly. Her smile was uncertain. You want that? I want to stop running from happiness because I'm afraid it won't last. I took her hand in front of dock workers and curious onlookers. I want whatever time we have, however it looks. We found an apartment overlooking the James River, splitting time between my studio and her ship duties. I taught sculpture classes at the local college, while Quinn commanded shorter routes, both of us learning to balance independence with partnership. The art community gradually accepted us, curiosity fading into familiarity. We became that couple, the ice sculptor and the captain, their age difference noteworthy but not scandalous. Marcus threw us a party 6 months after our return, his earlier concerns transformed into genuine support. You're good for her, he told me privately. She's always been driven, but now she's happy too. She's good for me. Better than I deserve. Stop saying that. You both deserve whatever joy you can steal from this short life. Vivian visited that summer, bringing her new partner, a kind woman who made my sister laugh. We spent evenings on our balcony, 2 complicated families blending into something resembling normal. You did it, Vivian said one night after Quinn had gone inside. You broke your pattern. I'm still terrified I'll mess it up. Good. Fear means you care. She refilled my wine. Just don't let fear make decisions anymore. In October, Catherine reached out through my gallery contact. She'd seen coverage of my Arctic exhibition and wanted to reconnect. We met for coffee, two women who'd loved each other badly 30 years ago. "You look happy," Catherine said. "Really happy." "I am, finally." I showed her photos of Quinn. "I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough back then." "We were kids. Different world, different us." She smiled. "I'm glad you found your way back to this, to yourself." The conversation gave me closure I hadn't known I needed, releasing guilt I'd carried for decades. That winter, Quinn proposed we return north, making the Arctic route an annual tradition. I agreed, already planning new sculptures inspired by ice and light and love. But Eleanor's inheritance came with a surprise clause we discovered in January. The money was conditional on Quinn maintaining her grandmother's summer home, a cottage on the Virginia coast where Eleanor and Margaret had spent 40 years together. We drove out on a gray February morning, finding the place exactly as Eleanor had left it. Photos of two women covered every surface, their love preserved in fading snapshots and handwritten notes. In the bedroom, we found Eleanor's journal, final entries addressed to Quinn. "If you're reading this, you've chosen love despite the cost. Good. Margaret and I had 40 beautiful years, but we hid for most of them. Don't hide, darling girl. Live loudly and openly, for us and for yourselves. Build your life with Evelyn in the spaces we couldn't occupy. Make noise, make art, make joy, and when the world pushes back, push harder. You're standing on our shoulders now. Use the height." Quinn cried reading it, and I held her in that bedroom where two women had loved each other secretly for decades. "We won't hide," Quinn promised the empty room. "We'll live exactly how you taught us to." That night, northern lights appeared over Virginia for the first time in 50 years, dancing across unexpected skies. We stood on the cottage deck watching, Quinn's arms around me from behind, both of us witnessing magic we'd thought belonged only to Arctic waters. "You know what Eleanor would say about this?" Quinn whispered. "What?" "That love makes its own light, even when the world says it shouldn't exist." I turned in her arms, this woman 30 years younger who'd refused to let me hide, who'd fought for us when I wanted to surrender, who commanded ships and my heart with equal skill. "I love you," I said. "And I'm finally brave enough to mean it completely. I love you too, for however long we get." She kissed me under impossible lights, and I kissed her back, two women claiming space in a world that told us we didn't fit, creating beauty from the courage to choose each other anyway. This wasn't the life I'd planned at 60. It was infinitely better. We stood until cold drove us inside, to warmth and each other and the future we were building one brave choice at a time, standing on the shoulders of women who'd loved before us, making the path a little wider for whoever would come next. And somewhere in the stars, I imagined Eleanor and Margaret dancing, their love finally free to shine as brightly as the northern lights above us, blessing the journey we were only beginning.